Hello everyone, my name is Linda and normally I'm the flower coordinator for the flower ranges at St Botolph's Church, Longthorpe. The Reverend Jackie has asked me to show you some basic ideas to use your flowers at Easter, so I hope you like and will be able to do some of these ideas. So for an Easter tree, you're going to need some sort of fairly heavy container, which you need to support inside. So this one I've got dry oasis or dry foam in the top so that I can push my twigs in. But you could use a small flower pot and just put sand or soil in, or you could go really big. I have seen people leave them out in their gardens where they've put plaster of Paris in a big pot, put the twigs in and left it as sort of a living sculpture outside in their garden all year. I'm very lucky. I've got in my garden a beautiful contorted hazel, which is about 35 years old and hasn't grown that big, but it has the most gorgeous twisted shape. But you can easily just collect twigs from your hedgerow. This I just picked up when I was out on a walk, and I don't know if you can see, it's got beautiful lichen, yellow lichen on it. So you could just use any sort of twigs that you have, and you just need to support them and put them into your container. As I say, I particularly like this contorted hazel. We're going to cover the base afterwards, so it doesn't matter if you've got something showing through, but obviously if you've got sand or stones at the bottom, it's you wouldn't have to necessarily cover those up. You can hear me pushing them into the base here because it's dry foam. It makes a sort of a noise as you put it in, but you need to make some sort of nice shape for your bits of eggs and things to fit into or fit onto. So a little bit at the front so things, oops, go forward as well. And I think I need a bit more at this side. Another of these nice twigs. And that I think will do. So now I have a collection here of beautiful Easter eggs, some of which I have had for a long time. These are some beautiful hand-painted wooden ones, sort of almost in the Russian style, which I'm just going to hang on the tree. Easter eggs, or eggs, are obviously traditional things at Easter, but you can put lots of other things on the tree as well. Other things that I've seen people put on are, for example, origami doves, paper folded doves, fish, which obviously is representation of Christianity as well, paper fish, and paper crosses, all sorts of different things that you could put on your tree. But I'm going to stick with being fairly traditional, putting on first of all my lovely wooden eggs. These are quite small, these ones. You can buy lots of plastic eggs, which I have got some here, which you can just get in the supermarket. I've certainly seen them this year in the supermarket. And they're very light, so even if you've got light twigs, you know, they will easily sit on your tree. And you can just put on as many or as few, oops, as you like. Make it fun, especially if you're obviously doing this with children. The clever ones amongst you can probably paint your own blown eggs if you want to, but as I say, I'm afraid mine are wood or plastic. So, as many as you like. I've also got some lovely little birds here which just clip on, little chicks. So I rather like these, so I'm going to put these on my tree as well. I think they're lovely. I don't know if you can see them there. I've only got 3. I think I probably bought them in Holland, where they go in for these sort of lovely things for Easter. They have all sorts of beautiful decorations. Obviously rabbits and hares is another thing that people associate with Easter. I've got just one beautifully painted hare here, which I usually put on as well. Towards Easter itself, after Lent, I nearly always change it slightly to a more religious decorations. So I will put on a cross at the bottom. This is one of the palm crosses which have been left over from previous Palm Sundays, which I haven't sent back to be made into ashes, I'm afraid. I've kept. But you can make palms and things, as we've seen before. So I need to cover this brown here, really, and you can do that in lots of different ways. Moss, you can pick up moss from the hedgerows or in your garden. I've got some yellow coir here, which is just coconut matting. If matting's the right word. It's dyed, obviously, and you can get them on all sorts of colours, and you can just sort of cover your anything that shows that doesn't look quite so nice. You can just cover it with the moss or the coconut. It sort of falls down a bit. I think it looks quite nice as a sort of loose covering. If you haven't got any of those, you could use even something like, this is a lemon holder. You know, that your lemons come in from the supermarket, and again, even that, you know, would cover up soil or sand or whatever you'd put, or you can just leave it. So that's my first idea, an Easter tree, and I think children particularly would, or grandchildren would, enjoy making one of those with you. So our next arrangement is an all-round arrangement which you can put on your dining room table, and it's using floral foam. So using floral foam, I just want to explain to you a little bit about floral foam, sometimes called Oasis, and you can buy it at hobby shops or at garden centres. It comes in blocks, double the size of this one, so it's about this sort of size, and I've cut half a block and soaked it in a plastic dish. Now, just to explain about soaking floral foam, you need to get a deep bowl of cool water, and then if you get with your flowers that you buy them from the supermarket, either some liquid food or some food in crystal packets, empty one of those, whatever you get, if you can, into your deep bowl of water. And then I'm just going to show you, using a very small piece of Oasis, how quickly it fills with water. You do not push it down, just lay it on top of the water, and within 30 seconds, a minute or so, it completely fills up with the water and will sort of sink or semi-sink. And that's what I've done here. So don't push it down, just rest it on top. Now also for this all-round arrangement, you are going to need some flowers. Supermarket flowers, unless you've got a very big garden, you can cut your own flowers, which is lovely, and some foliage. The flowers that you need 2 bunches of something, and the first one needs to be a flower that is flowering at the top. So you could use, as I am here, Peruvian lilies or alstroemeria, and I've got them in this beautiful sort of purple lent colour almost. Other flowers that you could use could be gerbera or even daffodils or narcissus. If you want to go the whole hog and do a very big arrangement, obviously longiflora lilies are traditional at Easter. But I'm using these lovely alstroemeria. Just a word, if you use daffodils or narcissus, they have a sap in them and they don't go well with other flowers unless you put them in water separate on their own for at least 24 to 48 hours, and then you can use them with other flowers. So with these lovely alstroemeria, I've stripped off the leaves that come further down. I'll just show you. I mean, that's very easy. You literally run your hand down them, and then they've got these sort of little leaves at the top of the crown, and I usually take all those off as well because, you know, they don't really add to the flower, and it's the flower that you want to see. If you get a bunch of flowers from the supermarket, as soon as you get them home, take them out of the cellophane and cut off about an inch or half an inch at the bottom of every stem of flowers, and put them straight away into nice cool place, nice cool water, not freezing cold but nice cool water, and keep them together like that for at least a few hours if you can before you start to arrange them. With these alstroemeria, I want to try and get all the heads together at the top so that they are splaying out like that. So gather your flowers at the top to try to make a nice sort of bunch at the top, and then you can put your elastic band around to hold them in place. I'm going to cut these a bit shorter because I want them to be about there on the and actually it's easier to put the elastic band around. Get rid of the elastic band later anyway. So if you just put the elastic band up to the top of your flowers, make sure it's a nice looking bunch at the top, and then that one up a bit, and then hold them together and push them right in to your Oasis right in the middle. So this, as I say, is going to be an all-round arrangement. The other lot of flowers that we're going to use, I've chosen bright yellow spray carnations, which again are a lovely flower and last a long time. It is important, if you've got spray carnations, these very small little bits which don't show any colour at all on a spray carnation, you just need to pull off because they'll never come to anything and they detract from the actual flower itself. So you always get a few of these on any spray carnations. Just pull them off like that. So, coming back to our Oasis dish, you've now got the flowers in a bunch at the top, and you need to make a skirt almost to cover your Oasis dish. And I nearly always do this all the way around with conifer. Conifer either that people have got growing in their gardens, or if you haven't got any in your garden, then I get it from the hedgerows. I think quite a lot of people probably see me going around Longthorpe cutting ivy and conifer from the hedgerows, which is obviously something that anybody can do as long as you don't trespass onto anybody's garden or anything. And so you just sort of push the little bits of conifer into your floral foam so it covers the dish and gives it a nice appearance, so you don't actually see the dish. This just takes a few minutes. You don't have to push them in very far, 1/4 of an inch maximum, but you want to make a nice sort of skirt lying on the dish edge but going all the way round. The other thing that you will need for this arrangement is some other foliage. Some ivy leaves, if you can get hold of them, and as I say, I always just pick mine from the hedgerows because my husband doesn't like it in the garden. And then some other foliages which will cover the green floral foam. So I don't know if you can see that, it's sort of getting a complete skirt all the way around the dish of conifer, and this conifer has a lovely smell to it. And I do like flowers for the dining table to have a bit of a smell if you can. Other people aren't so fond of that, but I happen to like it very much. And the important thing is that you enjoy what you're doing with flowers, that you have fun with them, and that you enjoy making things with flowers, I think, as well as looking at them in the garden. So, a complete round skirt of conifer. And then we want to separate the Oasis more or less into 3, and I'm going to do that with ivy leaves. So sort of layering the ivy leaves in positions around your dish in thirds, so approximately, obviously. So it gives an all-round appearance. Obviously this is more square, so you want to give it a little bit more of a round appearance. So that's about 1/3 each of the dish, and you can layer ivy leaves, and they do then cover a lot of your Oasis. Just cut them and then just sort of placing one more or less on top of another. And in flower arranging, it is traditional to work with odd numbers. So I have got, for example, 5 stems of Alstroemeria, and it would be the same if you had 5 stems of Narcissus, or 5 gerberas, or daisies, chrysanthemums, whatever you're going to use. And with the ivy leaves as well, I'm laying them up in 3s, or I could do 5s, but odd numbers are always thought to be more appropriate for flower arranging. So again, 3 lots of ivy. And then in between the ivy, you need to use other types of foliage to fill in a loose covering of your floral foam. And for that, I've chosen, again from my garden, but again you can get all sorts from the hedgerows if you wanted to. I've chosen first of all some lovely, beautiful smelling lavender. Now keeping these pieces short and low. You don't want it to come too high up your stems. Just covering with, and this lavender has got a lovely grey green colour to it, which is another nice addition to your arrangement. So in the second third, so that's the first one, in the second bit I'm going to put another foliage from my garden, and this is Pittosporum. You can get lots of different Pittosporum. It's got a lovely, very dark stem to this, again, sort of limey green leaf. And again, you only have to push them in, you know, 1/4 of an inch or so, not too much. And just, I've had the foliages soaking in fresh, cool water for at least 6 hours. As soon as you bring it in from the garden, and it's better to cut your foliage in the evening or in the early morning, so that you know, it's not in the heat of the day. Bring them in as soon as you possibly can and put them in water. Again, if you've got it with a packet of floral food, the liquid or the crystals. So they last as long as possible in your floral foam. Any floral foam you do need to water daily, and you can either do that by spraying or pouring some water down the edge of the dish. Alternatively, you can put ice cubes onto the top of the dish and just let it melt in to your floral foam. Of course, it is important, if you're going to put this on the dining room table, that you do have a mat or a tray or something underneath it. You don't want water going over your best dining room table. So that's 2 different foliages in the 2 thirds. And then for the final foliage, I've got, well, 2 things really. I've got some beautiful heuchera leaves, small, very dark, which I thought went beautifully with the lovely colour of the alstroemeria. So I've only got 5 of these. I haven't got a very big plant in my garden, but I'm going to just, as best I can, layer them on top of that final third of the oasis. And again, just to try and cover it as well as we can. Obviously, once we've got the other flowers in, you may find gaps where you can still see your floral foam through, and then you'll want to just fill it in a bit more. We'll see how it goes. So we come then to putting in your lovely spray carnations, which I think are just beautiful, lovely colour, complete contrast and opposite to the colour of the alstroemeria. Just run them all the way through your arrangement. Quite a inexpensive flower in the supermarket, the spray carnations, but they are so lovely and they last a long time. In this dish you'd probably hope that they would last at least 2 to 3 weeks. When you're cutting them, make sure that you cut in between the nodes. You mustn't cut them on a node. So there's a node there, a nodule if you like, just cut in between. So when you press them into the floral foam, you can almost press up to a node, but it will take up the water. If you cut them across the node, I'm afraid they won't take up the water. So you do have to be careful about that. And again, pulling off these ones which aren't showing any colour at all, because they are not going to come out for you. So a few more around here. Just scattering them, some a bit longer, some a bit shorter, but being careful not to cut on a node and going all the way through. And I think I've used, again, about 5 stems of spray carnations. You can put them in between your leaves as well. Some a bit lower down. Keep turning it round to see where you've got gaps. And certainly make sure you do put some lower down, because they do, it looks nice if they're coming down, pointing upwards over your arrangement. So I can see that I actually have got a few places where there are, I can see the floral foam still poking through. So I'm going to put some quite tightly in to draw your eye into the arrangement. And I'm not going to use these very small ones, as I say, because you really can't see any yellow on them at all. So just one, I think, might just go there. There you are with that. And then just to make it a little bit more Easter-like, I'm afraid I've got just a couple of little, I've only got 2 of these, unfortunately. As I've just said that you should work in 3s or 1s, but I'm just going to put a couple of Easter eggs on sticks, just sticking out there. And then if you can still see your floral foam through at any point, then you can just, of course, just add in another foliage if you need to, just to make sure everything is covered up. Again, keeping the pieces all very short. So that when you're sat at the table, everyone gets a good view, hopefully, of the flowers all the way round. There we go. Now, I did say that I'm going to cover these elastic bands at the top. And so what I'm going to do now is, keeping with the theme of yellow and purple, I'm just going to wrap some yellow ribbon all the way round in sort of a crisscross pattern, all the way round these stems. This is just, I mean, you can use any ribbon, wool, anything at all. It helps to keep the stems together, and it looks pretty. This is this curly ribbon that you can buy. but you could, as I say, you could use anything, any ribbon at all. And then at the bottom, obviously you just need to tie it off in a bit of a bow. Or, as this one is the curly ribbon, I'm just going to leave it, I'm not even going to tie it into a bow. And then you can just cut off the elastic band. And there you have it, your all-round arrangement for your Easter table. And I've just got 2 plastic half eggshells that I think I bought in Aldi's or Lidl last year, which had tete-a-tete daffodils in. I think they're only about £1. And you could, if you wanted to, lift it up a little bit higher on your table by actually placing it in the shell. Then you would have a shell left over, and certainly I always like to have those lovely Cadbury mini eggs in their shells, and a bowl of those on the table as well would go down a treat, I think. So that's your all-round Easter arrangement.